I never believed in ghost stories, at least not until that night. My first night working as a security guard at an old factory that had been abandoned for over 20 years changed everything. At the time, I just wanted the job as a way to earn some extra income, but what I encountered went far beyond anything I could have imagined. The factory was on the outskirts of a small Midwestern town. The building was massive, with shattered windows and peeling paint like dead skin. The streetlights outside were barely working, leaving the parking lot dark, shrouded in a thin mist that seemed to cling to the asphalt. When I first entered the security office, the smell of old metal and dust hit me immediately. On my desk lay an old logbook from previous guards, filled with almost illegible scribbles, and one brief note caught my eye. Footsteps on the upper floor, no one there. I started my shift at 10 p.m. At first, everything was routine, checking doors, turning on the CCTV cameras, making sure the alarms were working. But around 11 p.m., I began hearing something that couldn't be explained. From the upper floor came the sound of heavy, slow footsteps, like someone walking. I glanced at the CCTV monitors. The floor was empty. The camera showed a long, deserted corridor, only the emergency lights flickering. I decided to go upstairs to check it out myself. The stairs creaked under every step, each sound echoing like a memory from the past. Every room I passed was empty, but there was something strange. The temperature dropped sharply, and the air felt thick, almost tangible. In one room, I found an old filing box. Inside were aged documents and black and white photos of factory workers, some smiling, some staring at the camera with blank, unsettling expressions. It felt like they were watching me. Around 1 a.m., the sound returned, clearer this time. Not just footsteps, but faint whispers like words I couldn't quite make out. I recorded it on my phone, hoping to analyze it later. When I played it back, the voice seemed to stick in my ears. "Leave this place." Yet the CCTV screens remained empty, showing no sign of life. I tried to stay rational. I contacted the local police department to check old records of the factory. They found something interesting. In the 1970s, the factory had been the site of a workplace accident that killed several employees. Official investigations cited structural failure as the cause, but some witness reports mentioned apparitions on the upper floors. There was never any physical evidence, just consistent accounts of shadows and sounds appearing at night. That night, I finally sat in the control room, trying to calm myself. Then suddenly the CCTV showed something that made my heart stop. A thin, almost transparent shadow moving through the main corridor. I stared at it, and for a moment, it felt like the shadow turned toward me. Though its face was unclear, I felt an intense pain and sadness emanating from it. I turned toward the stairs, but the corridor was empty. I don't know how long I sat there before realizing one thing. I was no longer alone in that factory. Something was still following me, not to attack, but more like an observer, a keeper of the time that remained. My shift ended as the sun began to rise, but the feeling didn't go away. Even now, every time I walk past an empty building or hear indistinct footsteps, memories of that night come back. I can't explain what I saw, but I know one thing. That factory held something that couldn't be proven rationally, something that perhaps should have remained locked in the past. And sometimes, when I look at the old photographs of the factory workers in the archives, I feel one figure still staring at me, as if waiting for me to return. I often wonder if I was truly alone that night, or if it was just my mind trying to rationalize. Several times I returned to the factory, not to work, but just to see if the shadow was still there. Each time the corridors remained empty, but little things defied explanation. Doors slowly opening on their own, faint footsteps stopping when I turned, and the sudden smell of old metal filling the air. My friends began to notice a change in me. I became quieter, often staring blankly while they spoke. They didn't understand, but I knew. The factory had left something inside me, something that couldn't be erased, even by the morning sunlight trying to wipe away its trace. Sometimes I dream about that shadow. It doesn't attack. It doesn't scream. It just stands at the end of the hallway and watches. There's a deep sense of loss in its eyes, like waiting for something that will never return. I always wake up in a cold sweat, yet oddly with a sense of calm, as if that night wasn't just an event, but a warning and a lesson hidden between whispers and shadows. I still don't know what truly happened that night. Was it the spirit of a deceased worker, or just an echo of time trapped in the factory walls? One thing is certain, I can never look at an empty building the same way again. I know the factory, and that figure, will always linger in the corners of my mind, waiting for me to return, or for someone who can understand. And perhaps that's the point of it all. It's not about fear, and it's not about things that can be explained, but about how places and time can leave invisible, yet tangible, marks on a person. Since that night, I've learned one thing. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved. They are meant to be remembered,